I just watched 2001 A Space Odyssey for the third time, and this time I actually got through it. Why, you might ask, when it's literally the pinnacle of Stanley Kubrick's career? And to that I say, you might be right. I mean, this guy doesn't exactly have the best reputation when it comes to his unconventional filmmaking methods and the way he treats his actors, Shelley Duvall. But have you watched any of his other films? Such as The Shining, Doctor Strangelove, Eyes Wide Shut, Clockwork Orange, Full Metal Jacket, etc.? It just seems to me that 2001 A Space Odyssey is the black sheep of the group, and not in a good way. For starters, I would love it if someone explained to me how sitting through 3 minutes and 16 seconds of a black screen, 1 minute and 26 seconds of the iconic music with the spaceship, and 15 minutes and 11 seconds of monkeys jumping around is entertaining in the slightest? Well, that's just the beginning, because as an analyst and filmmaker, I'm here to give you one of the most shocking opinions on what's considered the best film ever made by critics, 2001: A Space Odyssey. I don't know where to begin, but sitting through this film is not something I would describe as a quote-unquote experience. The film opens, or rather builds through, its music on a black screen. Then we fade into what appears to be our moon in the foreground, drifting toward another planet, presumably Earth, given the obvious connection to the next scene, which I'll discuss shortly, while the sun backlights the entire view. And it's here that we have the title appear right out of the gate. I'd really have nothing negative to say if it wasn't for Kubrick deciding to include one of the longest sequences in the film, The Dawn of Man. Only a director like Stanley Kubrick could fill a film with some of the most beautiful landscape shots ever put on screen, only for most of them to lead nowhere beyond the reward of watching men in monkey suits hop around for nearly 15 minutes. Seriously though, the shots where you can easily see their eyes underneath their furry masks is somewhat unsettling for me. Anyway, there are only two important details to note during this section. Number one is the monolith that appears before the monkeys and causes them confusion as to why it appeared. Number two is that iconic scene accompanied by Richard Strauss's famous music. Monkey find bone. Monkey think bone not just bone, bone tool. Monkey start smash other bones while loud music acts like monkey discovers secrets of universe. Then monkey use skull crushing bone on other monkey and bonk friend to death. Monkey reviewer no watch anymore. Monkey move on. The space station scene isn't as slow and weird as the monkeys, but still pretty arduous to get through, like everything in this movie. Dr. Haywood Floyd is the first character we meet, a senior government official who travels to the moon to investigate the first monolith. Now, if you're sitting around with your friends watching these long, drawn-out scenes, it's easy to lose focus and start talking over the movie. As a result, you might miss important details. The problem is that many of the camera angles linger for so long that the pacing begins to drag, making the dialogue feel passive rather than engaging and active. But that can't possibly be the film's fault, right? It's simply the audience's responsibility to remain completely locked in for every lingering shot and endlessly stretched out conversation. If they get bored, distracted, or miss something while the movie takes its sweet time getting to the point, that's obviously on them and not on the film's pacing. Oh, spare me, cinephiles. You just don't want to admit that I'm right, simply because this film is supposed to be revolutionary and iconic. Take the scene where Dr. Floyd chats with his daughter on the Zoom call, for instance. I know it's a cute, innocent exchange that adds a little background to his character, but it's still a 2-minute conversation that's dedicated to a complete nothing burger. And what about the 4-minute, 14-second conversation between him and a group of Soviet-Russian scientists that appear to consist of only 6 shot changes? However, once the scene finally comes to an end, we're immediately treated to another 7 minutes and 19 seconds of nothing but music as Dr. Floyd's spaceship drifts through space, a stewardess casually delivers food to the pilots and Floyd, and the rest of the sequence is simply spent watching the painfully slow process of the ship making its way to the moon. I understand that this is part of Kubrick's signature style, the deliberate pacing, the patience, the emphasis on atmosphere, but the question remains, does this level of restraint actually serve the story, or does it simply test the audience's patience like mine? Keep in mind, all of this happens within the first 41 minutes of the film that runs nearly 2.5 hours long. And somehow, after all of that, we're finally rewarded with the actual reason Dr. Floyd came to the moon in the first place, a meeting about the mysterious discovery buried beneath the lunar surface. This is also where the film's dialogue finally starts to take center stage, which sounds exciting until you realize that most of it is still delivered with all the enthusiasm of people discussing office paperwork. The scientists explain that the object has been deliberately concealed and that its magnetic anomaly led to its discovery, but Kubrick stretches even this reveal with the same glacial pacing that has defined the previous 40 minutes. Before they reach the monolith, we have to sit through more travel shots, more cautious walking, more people slowly making their way from point A to point B. Then, when they finally arrive, the sequence somehow finds time for a group photo. A group photo! This is supposedly one of the greatest discoveries in human history, and everyone immediately lines up like they're posing for a company newsletter. Even the casual conversations along the way fail to hold my attention. At one point, they're discussing the food they're eating, which only left me more confused than interested because I thought people in this movie survived by sipping everything through straws and drinking brightly colored space goo. Maybe I missed something while watching another spacecraft take 10 minutes to dock. Either way, the build-up to the monolith's discovery feels absurdly long for a payoff that amounts to people standing around staring at a black rectangle before it emits a loud noise and everyone starts clutching their ears. The moment is iconic, sure, but the road getting there feels like Kubrick intentionally challenged himself to see how many minutes of waiting an audience would tolerate before something finally happened. Real quick, if you're enjoying this video and want to support the channel in a bigger way, check out my Patreon. It's a great way to help me keep creating. You'll get some cool extras like behind the scenes stuff, early access, and more. Links in the description if you want to take a look. Thanks so much.
April 1968 is de première van 2001: A Space Odyssey. Het is een van de zeldzame keren dat Kubrick zich nog in het openbaar laat zien.
We started in 1965, early 1965. Well, I became interested in the idea that the universe was full of intelligent civilizations, which is the current scientific belief. Well, the facts in the film only help you believe the story, but the scientists know now that there are about 100 billion stars in our galaxy and about 100 billion galaxies in the visible universe. The point is that there are so many stars in the universe that the likelihood of life evolving around them, even if it were possibilities of 1 in a million, there would be hundreds of millions of worlds in the universe.
Now we arrive at the Jupiter mission, 18 months later, cutting away just as things are finally starting to get interesting. Still, it's not all bad, as we're finally introduced to 3 distinct characters aboard the mission: astronaut Dave Bowman, the mission commander and primary human protagonist who ultimately survives the voyage, astronaut Frank Poole, Bowman's fellow astronaut and crewmate, and HAL 9000, the sentient onboard computer that controls the ship and becomes the driving force behind the mission's central conflict. Apparently, this crew is a big deal back on Earth, because they're the public faces of a groundbreaking mission to Jupiter, which is why the film introduces them through a live television interview conducted aboard the Discovery 1. This is when the film really becomes unbearable, because HAL 9000 points out that the ship's AE-35 unit, a critical component of the spacecraft's antenna steering system responsible for maintaining the radio communications link with Earth, needs fixing within 72 hours. You would think fixing it would be a little more intense than what Kubrick actually gives us. After all, Hal just informed the crew that a critical component is about to fail, yet Bowman calmly floats outside the ship and replaces it with all the urgency of someone changing a smoke detector battery. The scene is visually impressive, but like so much of the film, it's stretched out to the point where the tension evaporates long before anything interesting happens. What I will praise the film for is the tension between the astronauts and Hal. The fact that Hal is constantly watching them, combined with its growing sense of pride and superiority, creates a genuinely unsettling atmosphere. And when they have a private conversation about shutting HAL 9000 down entirely, you can tell that it realizes something is wrong. Despite believing they're speaking in complete secrecy, HAL's ability to read their lips reveals that it's fully aware of their plan, turning what seems like a routine discussion into one of the film's most tense and unsettling moments. Skipping the fact that there's a damn intermission, we get another attempt at fixing that AE-35 unit before HAL reveals that the replacement unit is functioning perfectly, exposing that the computer has intentionally lied to the crew. Things escalate when HAL refuses to allow the astronauts to regain control and kills Frank Poole by disconnecting him from the ship, sending him helplessly drifting into the emptiness of space. This is easily the moment where the film's tension finally pays off because HAL goes from a calm, logical machine to a terrifying force that is willing to eliminate anyone who threatens the mission. "I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that," are the famous words of HAL 9000 when it officially becomes the main antagonist of this story. After Dave tries to save Frank from his untimely demise, HAL doesn't allow either of them back on the ship due to worry of them jeopardizing the mission. So Dave manages to break back into the ship through the airlock and makes his way toward HAL's core, determined to shut the computer down once and for all. As Dave disconnects HAL's system one by one, the once confident machine begins pleading for its survival, begging for mercy as it slowly loses its intelligence and control. Its last words are, "Singing the Daisy song?" Maybe this film would have worked better as a sci-fi horror story, especially if an entire hour of its runtime had been cut down. Because at this point, we're already 2 hours in, and it feels like the movie is only now reaching the tension and conflict it should have built toward much earlier. We have now reached the final stretch of the Jupiter mission and the closing moments of this agonizingly slow film, where David Bowman is left completely alone, isolated from everything and everyone aboard the Discovery 1. David Bowman travels through the Stargate into a mysterious unknown dimension beyond human understanding, often interpreted as a higher plane of existence where he undergoes his transformation into the Star Child, or a fetus, or whatever you want to call it. This is disturbing. Jesus Christ, dude, what the hell did I just watch? The final act feels like Kubrick looked at a normal sci-fi ending and said, "No, that's too understandable," before throwing David Bowman into the most expensive psychedelic screensaver ever created. For several minutes, we're just watching him fly through a rainbow tunnel of lights, colors, and abstract shapes like he accidentally opened the universe's weirdest portal while listening to experimental music from another dimension. And then, after that cosmic acid trip, he wakes up in a mysterious white room, ages through his entire life in the span of a few minutes, and turns into a glowing space baby, staring back at Earth. And also the camera, dude. I don't even know why he's looking at me. Stop looking at me like that, dude. I'm not even sure if I watched a movie or if Stanley Kubrick personally launched me into orbit and left me there to figure it out for myself. After nearly 2.5 hours of slow pacing, vague symbolism, and one of the strangest endings ever put to film, I can confidently say 2001: A Space Odyssey is a movie I respect far more than I actually enjoy. It's a technical masterpiece and an undeniable achievement in filmmaking, but for me, the experience was less like watching a groundbreaking sci-fi epic and more like waiting for a spaceship to dock in real time. Thank you so much for watching. This video took a lot of time to make, so I would really appreciate it if you would leave a like and subscribe. And please make sure to turn on that notification bell so you don't miss a future upload. More quality videos like this one are coming soon. Once again, I really appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.